What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Ade Gman. A bit later in the week, but as always, we're going to get it done. Please do me a favor. I am collabing with Gman on this video. The link to his channel was in the description. Please go over there, have a look at the content he puts out. He really puts out so much great content. Go and subscribe to the channel as well. Go and support people. Go and support. And final thing before we get into the video, the new episode of The Presenter is out. This time I sat down with boxing's best, I think, commentator, Adam Smith. The sound is a little off. If perfect sounds 100, this is like 95. So I'm not trying to say it's not audible. It's audible. You can still listen to it. It's fantastic. Again, please go and give it a watch. I'll put the link to that video in the description as well. All right, before we get into a whole heap of boxing news, a lot's happened in the last 5 or 6 days. How are you, G-Man?
I've been very good. We are doing this a bit later in the week. That's purely down to me. I was home for the weekend. I was meeting up with some friends. I had a good time at home, and in a way, it's kind of worked out well because we normally record this on a Monday. And since Monday, there's been just news, fights dropping left, right, and center.
There has been. I've got a list down. Like me and G-Man normally say, okay, what we're going to discuss. And if we did this on Monday, it'd be like 1 or 2 topics. It'll be Nick Ball. It probably will be a bit of Boots, Virgil, and that's it. All of a sudden, because we've stalled this a couple of days, as he said, he's been away. We've actually got now good 5 or 6 subjects that are going to take, I think, a lot of our time to get through. All right, no wasting time. Let's do this. Nick Ball lost his WBA featherweight title in Liverpool on the weekend. As you know, I was there. You were watching the fight. Scorecards going into the final round. A couple of the judges had it Figueroa. One judge, I think the English judge, British judge, had it, I think, 4 or 5 rounds to Nick Ball. How did you see the fight going into the final round?
Yeah, I mean, they had 2 proper contrasting scorecards. The 2 judges who had Figueroa ahead can't really argue with it. The other judge, he had Nick Ball like a mile ahead. I thought it was close going into the final round. I had Nick Ball up by 1 round. So if Figueroa had won the 12th round, he would have basically drawn the fight. If Nick Ball would have won it, he would have won, right? I wasn't surprised with the outcome, though, having said that, because Figueroa is game. He's lively. He's been a champion before. And mate, personally for me, I thought Nick Ball really after the Ray Ford fight, he hasn't had that same, he's had that same tenacity, but he hasn't been able to like really look as spiteful as he used to. I think he's looking a bit jaded in there. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I agree with the jaded part. I don't know if it's because he's been so busy. Again, I feel like I'm contradicting myself when I say that because I want to see fighters fight 3 times a year. Nick Ball's kind of given us 3 fights in a 12-month span. So maybe it's a case of, okay, he just needs to press the pause button. And he doesn't knock you out, does he? He goes 12 and 10 rounds all the time. So all of these fights are going the distance. I'm guessing sparring is very hard as well. So I feel like he just looks a bit tired in there. As you say, there doesn't seem to be much snap on the punch. There weren't the combinations that we're used to seeing. Normally, he kind of does this flurry of 5 and 6 punches. We didn't really get that against Figueroa as well. Figueroa looked the fresher of the 2. In those championship rounds, Figueroa looked like he had more in the gas tank than Nick Ball. And that might be, again, down to the fact that he went to the body so much and he started chopping down Nick Ball to the body. So I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it didn't look like the Nick Ball that we saw against Ray Ford, and especially the one that we saw against Vargas.
No, it didn't. And you know what? Like, we talked about activity. You were right in what you said there about Nick Ball being very active, right? Over like the last like year or 2. But if you think about it like this, he's really been active nonstop pretty much since 2022. And you think about it, like he's been consistently fighting throughout, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. And it's not like he's fighting 2 or 3 times a year against, you know, no-hopers and screw-ups. He's fighting good world-level opponents. He's been doing that pretty much since he fought Isaac Dogboe back at, 4 years ago now? So I think there's only so much you can do that. And another example, and I know he actually said it to you, I think, just after Christmas in Niue, I'm tired. There's only so much you can do before it's really impacting you, I think, the activity.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. I forgot that Inoue said that, but you're right. He did say, look, I'm just tired. And sometimes I think we take for granted how much goes into getting in the ring. Like fight camps are grueling. Obviously the fight stuff as well, but sometimes the fighters would tell you the fight camps are tougher than the fights. And again, I felt like from round 10 onwards, Figueroa just on his chest and Nick Ball not being able to push him out of the way or push him back, I think was a problem. You know what was really refreshing? The scorecards from an international perspective. And what I mean by that is that I guess most fighters don't like traveling away from home because they don't think they're going to get a fair shake. I mean, when we were growing up, it was like, don't go to Germany. It's kind of now been the thing about don't go to the UK. it was actually refreshing to know that Figueroa was ahead on the scorecards. Even if he didn't get the knockdown, he was on his way to win. And I know that you had Nick Ball up by 1. I had it very close. But it's good to see it wasn't a landslide victory for Nick Ball and that Figueroa was going to get the nod regardless.
Yeah, no. So even if Nick Ball had won the last round, it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference. Figueroa would have still won that fight, even if he wasn't dropped. So to know that he can come in there, and at the end of the day, man, that fight was nip and tuck. It was in the balance. Could have went either way. So for me, seeing those scorecards, seeing how fair they were, because they were completely fair. There wasn't, a scorecard that even for Figueroa that you were looking, thinking, what the hell is that? They were fair. So I think that we need to, we can't keep having these fights where a champion kind of goes over, or a champion's in the UK and fighter goes over, and they kind of know when they get to the final bell, because you can see in some fighters, they have that kind of resigned look about themselves. Even if they think they did enough, they're just kind of expecting, I ain't going to get my hand raised.
Yeah. It was a vicious knockdown or a knockout. Well, actually a knockdown, obviously, because Nick Ball got up. I mean, what Brandon did very well was he disguised that left hook really well. I mean, he's been going to the body. We had the stats. We had the CompuBox stats. We actually had Bob Canobio actually on our WhatsApp group giving us the stats throughout the fight. And Figueroa was outlanding Nick to the body all night. And I think Nick expected another body shot, a bit like the way Canelo and Ryan Garcia whip it up top. And it was just a beautiful knockout. And I can't remember the last time I've seen Nick hurt. I mean, people were telling me that he got hurt against Ray Ford, and maybe he did, but not like that. I've never seen him down.
No, that was a one punch boom down. And I mean, honestly, how he got up from that. When you see a fighter go flat on their face like that, they nearly never beat the count. I was thinking, that's it. It's over. So credit to him for getting up. He showed tremendous heart. I get why the referee, and I'm actually kind of glad in one sense the referee did give him, because Nick Ball's a fighter. He was going to fight on to the bitter end. But when they go down like that, the writing's on the wall. They're normally not going to be able to recover and see the round out. And Figueroa was clinical.
Yeah, look, you've got to give, some people have said that as well, maybe he should have waved it off. You kind of have to give the champion sort of all the opportunities to get through and recover. And I know that's not how it should be. Ultimately, you've got to save the fighter, right? The ref's got to save the fighter from more damage. But it's his 4th defense. He's at home. He is the champion. He is the favorite. I think you give him an opportunity. Like if he was taking a beating throughout the night and then got put down, okay, call it. But as you said, it was nip and tuck on the scorecards, and you don't, if he looks like he's going to get up, give him every chance to get up. And then obviously Figueroa, being more experienced than Nick Ball, knew exactly what to do when it came to the finish. What does Nick Ball do now? Is it just everyone just chill out, him just rest in and then come again in the summer maybe?
Yeah, my first thing would be have a good long rest. He's not done. He's only 28 years old. Yeah. It's a devastating loss. You do wonder how is he going to be punch resistance wise coming back. But my first thing would be have a rest. But you said the summer. I wouldn't even say go back. And so I'd say you're fine going back in the autumn, winter. Take a good long rest, reassess, recoup, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I agree. And look, he's in a position where, who knows, right? I mean, Figueroa might say, okay, I fancy that again. Let's roll it again. I don't know what the purse would have been or the check, but it would almost be reversed, wouldn't it? This time as Figueroa as the champion, he might say, look, I fancy that again. If I can't get what I want to do, if I can't get Espinoza, if I can't get Tszyu, then let's go again. I don't mind it. I don't know if you watched much of the undercard, Andrew Cain. You're talking about a guy that got put down. Andrew Cain got put down twice. Got up and came through that fight against Alejandro Gonzalez. That was incredible, balls. To get up from those 2 body shots was incredible.
It was. Andrew Cain, they were talking about his fight with Charlie Edwards, and please don't watch that fight. That wasn't a great fight. And it kind of, this fight really didn't, I didn't find there was much in this fight. It was kind of, nip and tuck. And then all of a sudden, Cain gets hit to the body and he's visibly hurt. He's dropped again. And you're like, wow, this is it. It's done. And for him to just literally one round, boom, turn it around like that and stop him in the 9th round, Gonzalez. And it didn't even look like that heavy a shot that Cain hit him with to knock him down first. It was like, where did that come from? It's incredible, really. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, he's as hard as nails. I mean, you look at his sort of KO percentage. I mean, this guy can clearly crack. He's only ever lost at super bantam. That was to Baluta. At bantamweight, he's a bit of a problem. Obviously, look, this puts him in a position where he can fight for a world title, the younger Inoue's world title, which means he probably has to go to Japan, which ain't going to be easy, but winning a world title shouldn't be easy. And he might, I don't know if it's too quick a turnaround, but obviously there's a lot of talk about Inoue Nakatani in May. He might like be on the undercard. Could be chief support in that super fight. I can imagine Inoue would like his brother to be on his biggest fight card ever. So there's a good chance he could be in a big fight soon.
Inoue's had his brother on a few of his undercards, actually. I think he was on a couple of the Nair cards. Now, Inoue in name, he's not the puncher, thank God for that Naoya is, but he is still a good boxer. Takuma Inoue, I think his name is. Yeah. He's still a good boxer, so that's not an easy fight, but a day out in Japan, in the Tokyo Dome, on a card like that, you'd take it. You'd have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have no choice but to take it. I mean, if the WBC call you and say, okay, this is your world title shot and it's here, you go wherever it is. You saw Dalton Smith go to New York and beat Sabril Matias. You go wherever your shot is. We saw Richardson Hitchens fight Liam Parro in Puerto Rico. Doesn't matter where it is in the world. You get that call, you go, you have a chance of becoming world champion and changing your life. All right, let's move on from that. I do want to get your talk. I'm going to let you have the floor on this one. Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton confirmed. Zuffa world title in the cruiserweight division. Your thoughts?
Zuffa world title, I mean, he's the IBF champion. Why don't we say it like it is? He's the IBF champion. As far as I'm aware, he is Ring Magazine champion as well, Jai Opetaia. So theoretically, that will be on the line. And I'm just wondering, are we really renaming the oldest belt in boxing the Zuffa title now? Is that what it is? Or is it a brand new title? I don't know all this. All this to me is a little bit silly, to be honest with you. I just think keep it simple. You know, he's cruiserweight world champion. He's defended his title. It's an IBF title. That's what it is. In terms of Brandon Glanton as the opponent, Brandon Glanton, I thought he underperformed a little bit against CBS last year. He knocked out Marcus Brown. I don't know if you were actually at that show or not, but I'm sure that was in Nigeria or Ghana, one or the other. So he's on a good run of form. He's decent. He seemed to take a very, very good shot as well. So we want someone durable. And to be fair, he's a lot better. Jai Opetaia will need to be a lot better against Brandon Glanton than he was against those other two guys. No offense to them, but I don't think they'd see the final bell against Brandon Glanton. So Jai Opetaia needs to have his head screwed on for this fight. Won't be easy. I like the fight.
Yeah.
I like it.
Same. In terms of the matchup itself, and I'm trying to remove the two. I'm trying to talk about the matchup and also talk about the additional trinket, the additional belt that's being put on offer here. In terms of the matchup, I'm not mad at it at all. I mean, it's a much better opponent than any of Jai's last 5 fights, I believe. Anything going back to Marius Bradis, anything past Bradis, it's way better than that. So I'm not mad at it. Although Brandon Glanton isn't ranked in the Ring Magazine's top 5 cruiserweight rankings, which is interesting. And the reason I say this, the Ring Magazine have kind of their rules as well, not as stern as the other organizations, but they've got a rule which says if you do not fight a top 5 opponent in a span of 2 years, you lose your Ring Magazine belt. Brandon Glanton isn't a top 5 opponent. So Jai is in danger, according to their rules, of losing his Ring Magazine belt. As for the Zuffa belt, couldn't care about it. I don't know what this is. I don't know what we're doing here. And it is a Zuffa belt. I don't understand. He's the IBF champion. He's a Ring Magazine champion. Those are big enough. Why do we need to add another belt to what already is a confusing situation with all these belts? Like, this isn't MMA. Like, I get it. The UFC have belts. The PFL have belts. This is boxing. We've already got belts made. Belts that have been there for, in some cases, over 100 years. Why do we need to add another one to it? I just find it confusing.
I just find it gimmicky as hell. Do you remember when Usyk fought Fury and they made that WWE type belt? And they were calling it like the undisputed title and this, that, and the other. I just think that it's just gimmicky as hell. It's not needed. And I've said this before, but look, I love Dana White coming into boxing. I love having more variety of promoters, network, etc. But you think about it like this, right? You're going in there and you're trying to change the game. I know people love using that word in boxing. But you're trying to change a game and bring in new concepts to something that's over a sport in general in boxing, never mind the sanctioning bodies and belts, a sport that's well over 100 years old. MMA was like the Wild Wild West when Dana White came in. So you can play around with that. You can take UFC and make it your own because, again, there was no one really watching it. It wasn't a sport that you'd associate with these rules. You're going to a sport like boxing, which is, as I said, has a history going back to the 1800s. And you're trying to say, never mind these sanctioning bodies, never mind these weight classes, never mind these rules. This is how it's going to be. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work at all.
Yeah, I just find it confusing. And what's interesting as well, the Ring Magazine have posted a fight poster of this, Jai Opetaia versus Brandon, and they've not mentioned Zuffa. They've not mentioned the IBF Zuffa have made a poster, and they've not mentioned the ring. They've not mentioned the IBF. The IBF have put a post drop as well now. They've not mentioned ring. They've not mentioned. It's just what's going on. What's happening here? Like, I got in trouble for saying that sort of no one cares about these new belts, and the pushback on me was, okay, but yeah, the ring, and I'm like, okay, fair. If it's just for the ring, I'm okay with it because the ring's one of the oldest belts as well. We don't need to create more belts, people. Again, I've done a video on this on my YouTube speaking about it. I just find it all confusing, and it takes away from what will be a good fight. Like, if Jai wins, what are you going to do? Put the Zuffa belt on him, the Ring Magazine belt, the IBF belt? All right, it's all a mess. Honestly, it's all a mess. But the matchup's good.
The matchup is at least good. And as I said, like, will he be introduced as IBF champion on a Zuffa show then? That's what I'd like to know. Will he pay sanction fees to the IBF? There are all things we can wonder about at the time. But the matchup itself is brilliant. I really do. As I said, Brandon Glanton is a very good fighter. He's a lot better. He's probably the best opponent he's fought since he's fought Breedis the second time, which kind of shows that he has really been just not stagnating, but really just been kind of going through the motions, just fighting anyone. It's not his fault. The champions don't seem to want to fight him. But this is a really good fight. It's a quick turnaround because it's only been announced about, 2 weeks ago. Opetaia has gone to Zuffa and he's already out in the start of March. It's only about, less than a month away? So it's not far away.
Yeah, no, it's not far away at all. And you're right, I was at Glanton's fight in Nigeria. I was ringside for his win over Marcus Brown, where he kind of, in the end, bullied Brown. He was a bit too big, too strong. He's very rugged. Boxing skills, not really there, but he's going to make you work for it. And look, I've always said, and I think you've said this about Jai as well, that we think he's a special talent. Let's see it. Because it's all well and good beating the C-level guys and knocking them over and the old veterans. Let's see what you can do against a real live dog. And if he is as special as I think he is, he should be getting rid of Brandon Glanton or making it very, very wide.
I think he'll stop him. I think Brandon Glanton makes too many mistakes. I think he's too open defensively. But I'm basing that off, Jai Opetaia knocking out the last two guys, knocking out the Elazaras of the world, the Jordan Thompsons. Brandon Glanton's a lot better than they are. So that's why I'm so excited about this fight. Never mind all this stuff with the belts, just this fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, I know you're looking forward to that fight. I know you're looking forward to this fight even more. And that is Fabio-Wardley, Daniel Dubois, which hasn't officially been confirmed at the time of us filming this, but all roads, I think, are pointing to May 9th, Manchester. I think they could have gone a stadium, but they're going an arena. I don't know if it's the Co-op or the AO, but they are going to Manchester. This is an incredible fight. This is an incredible matchup to determine who is numero uno over here.
Pretty much. I am a little, I'm not disappointed. That's the wrong word. But Zhang versus Dubois was talked about. That would have been interesting. But this fight right here, man, you are talking about two young, hungry heavyweights. Both of them are offensive juggernauts. Both of them have questionable defense. They're both easy to hit. And they're both hyper aggressive. It's just got knockout written all over it. And I'm going to make a comparison with a fight in the past, right? They're not the same stylistically. But do you remember Foreman Lyle? I reckon it could be like that. That fight went 5 rounds, but yet they were just beating the crap out of one another. One guy was dropping the other, then vice versa. I think this could be a fight that it probably won't go long. We could be looking at a 5 or a 6 rounder in terms of how long it goes, but we'll see 12, 15 rounds of action in those 5, 6 rounds. That's how I see this fight going. I think it's brilliant. Honestly, can't wait.
Yeah, this will be a case of both of them will feel like they're the dominant one. This will be one of those where no one tries to be on the back foot and try and box. It'll be like, no, I'm better than you. I hit harder than you. I'm stronger than you. Both will feel like they have the answer to each other. And I can only see an incredible war. I'm with you. I think a 5-round war, both will be taking so much damage and someone's getting knocked out clean in this, hurt badly, which I guess that's kind of what fight fans want from the heavyweight division. But look, credit to both. I think there was other conversations, as you said. There was a lot of talk about Dubois versus Zhang. There was a lot of talk about Wardley maybe going down another route. The fact that they're going straight at each other, I think I am so happy to be able to know that I will be ringside, hopefully, fingers crossed, working on this fight.
Oh, well, that's lucky for you. That's very lucky for you. You'll get the best seat in the house for this, and I would gladly watch this fight at home because I think it's just going to be phenomenal from start to finish. It's going to be one of them. If you think about it like this, right, there are fights that probably could be made that are maybe higher level in terms of, you could see a trilogy with Beterbiev versus Bivol. You could see Boots versus Virgil. But this for me just ticks every box. You know, you're talking about two big, hard hitting heavyweights, both with a point to prove. And I just love it. And the atmosphere in Manchester for big heavyweight nights, and just in general, the atmosphere in Manchester is electric. So I can see why Frank is doing it. Mate, just roll on May 9th. It's just, I can't wait. Simple as.
Who's got the fan base there? Who's got the fan base?
Wardley, definitely. I still think,
Wardley,
if you think about like,
one sec.
Yes.
Wardley definitely has more fans than Danny Dubois.
And I'll tell you my reasons why, right? Dubois fought AJ. That was AJ's show, right? We'll all admit that. That was AJ's show in Wembley Stadium, right? Who was getting more love last July? Alexander Usyk. Who was getting cheered to the ring? Alexander Usyk. Who did they really come to see in July? Alexander Usyk. Daniel Dubois was champion. He was there, but, you know, he was there. Daniel Dubois, the 2 stadium fights he's done, he's been sort of the underdog. He's been the away fighter. They come to see AJ and they come to see Usyk. Fabio Wardley's done a stadium already, Portman Road. They were coming to see him. He has the fans. He will bring, that place is going to be blue with Ipswich Town supporters, and they're all there to see Fabio Wardley. So yeah, I think he's got the fans in this.
Disagree. And the reason I disagree with this is, well, yeah, 100% disagree. And the reason I disagree with this is because, okay, right. Well, one second. Let me get there. You're right. Against AJ, AJ can fight anyone. AJ's going to have the stadium, 100%. Usyk, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't all come to see Usyk, not at all. It was maybe a 60-40 split. Like a lot of the people in there came to see Daniel Dubois. You acting like 90,000 in there and 90,000 came to see Alexander Usyk. No way. I was listening to the crowd when Daniel Dubois made that ring walk, and I'd say Daniel Dubois at least had 40% of that stadium. At least 40% of that stadium.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. And yes, granted, you were there. Fair is fair, you were there. But I still think that Wardley, right now, I do think he is a bigger name. Now he's heavyweight champion. People have been talking about Wardley for years and years and years, right? If you think about it like this, people have talked about Wardley for years and years and years and years. Daniel Dubois did so many undercards and still was doing undercards even after he beat AJ. If you think about it like this, Fabio Wardley would be probably unlikely to ever go back to undercards after the Joseph Parker fight, after any of that. He beat AJ in a stadium and he was willing to go back on the undercard of the third BF Bill. He's willing to do that. Just chucking it out there. I'm just saying.
No. Look, I mean, either one, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see, right? I mean, both of them, neither of these guys are from Manchester. I think it could have happened at the O2 Arena, both almost closer to the O2 Arena than they are to Manchester. But I think any venue in the UK, I do think it could have done a stadium. The issue is there isn't a nice,
I think so.
I guess 40,000 seater stadium. I mean, I don't know if it could have done Tottenham. I mean, we always default to Tottenham now. I don't know why Tottenham's become the stadium. There are others. I mean, the Emirates is a nice stadium, but I just feel like if there was a nice 40,000 seater stadium, it does that. I think 65 is a bit of a push.
It's only you said the Emirates. I was thinking, that would probably work out a treat because it's neutral ground. Don't believe Dubois is an Arsenal supporter, but it's neutral ground. I think they could have done a stadium. Personally, I think that maybe they're just being conservative. But for me, this fight has stadium fight written all over it. It truly does. Maybe it's just the timing wise, May coming towards the end of the season. Maybe they just said easier to do it in an arena. It's a slam dunk sellout. So maybe, but I think it's stadium fight this. I just think it's just, I keep smiling. I think it's just phenomenal. I just can't wait.
Who wins?
Oh, man. Gun to my head, right? I'm going to say Dubois.
It's a tough one.
I'm only thinking Dubois because I think he's just a better boxer.
Okay. That's interesting because Hooney was a better boxer and so was Joseph Parker. So was Fraser Clark.
Mm-hmm. And none of them can punch like Dubois.
Okay. Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? Dubois can crack. Dubois can really, as can Wardley. I obviously I'm going to fence it on this one because I'm going to be working it and I'm going to be doing a face-off, I'm guessing, soon. And I don't want any issues. I'm just trying to be good. When the face-off's done, I'll make my judgment and my opinion. But until then, let me just kind of park my bum firmly on the fence on it. All right, let's go through some other news that's happened in the world of boxing. Ajagba versus Charles Martin is this weekend. Ajagba coming off that draw against Martin Bakole. Charles Martin he didn't fight in 2024. I think he had like a little gimme fight in 2025. I don't know what's left with Charles Martin. I think he's 39 now. Ajagba should be able to steamroll. I think Charles Martin should be able to stop him. But he's a tricky veteran, I'd say Charles Martin is, but I expect Ajagba to get the job done here.
Oh God, I think Ajagba should be stopping Charles Martin. I mean, we talk about Bakole. He won the fight. Let's be real. He won that fight. And I think right now, for a heavyweight, he's what, 30, 31, F.A. Ajagba? So he's got to be coming into his prime. So and he's more proven than some of the guys that have already, beaten Charles Martin, but have taken the distance, excluding Anthony Joshua, of course, but the Jared Andersons, people like that, they were fairly young in their respective careers. So I think, he should be going in there, should be stopping Charles Martin. I'd expect a good fight. Charles Martin can punch a little bit, but I think Ajagba's got this one.
Yeah. This one takes place at the Apex, which I hate just because it's the smallest boxing venue for big time boxing we've ever seen. I don't understand. It's only a few hundred. I think Dana White said he's trying to extend it for a few thousand. I just think it's a venue that was built solely for events behind closed doors during COVID. Once we're out of that, I feel like we should just be able to go back into normal sort of arenas. So it's a bit of a weird one, but look, I hope Ajagba does come through it, because I think Ajagba's a fixture in the heavyweight division. He never gets mentioned when we talk about matchups for some reason. Ajagba, like every time everyone's like, I want to see him fight him and him, he rarely gets mentioned. And I feel like a win over Charles Martin, a devastating win, he might start to get some noise around him.
Well, he's got a lot of devastating knockout wins. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why he doesn't get mentioned, is because you look at someone like a Martin Bakole, even when he was at his, best, and you can see how you can beat him. If you move around the ring, you do when Ajagba, he looks beatable, but he's tough. He's a tough night's work. He's long, he's rangy, he's got a back foot game now we didn't know about, and he's one of the biggest punchers in the division. I mean, look at some of the knockouts he has. They're crazy. So I think that's one of the reasons, and the fact that he's young, because Ajagba's only, as I said, 30, 31. So he's in that kind of, he's young, he's improving. You look at someone like a Martin Bakole, you look at someone like, Filip Hrgović, they're not getting any younger. So you look at them, you think, they're a risk, but, they only have a couple of years left. Maybe they can see it out for a year. You look at Ajagba, he's in around the age of the Wardleys, the Dubois of the world and stuff. So you're thinking, damn, he's a proper contemporary, and he's getting better, and he's athletic, and he's long, and he can punch. And he's like an 85-inch reach, crazy reach he has.
Yeah, he knows he's a good fighter. And you're right, we think we saw a back foot game against Martin Bakole. So he's not only just a puncher, I think he was coming through the division as a puncher. And it was, the idea was, if you can outbox him, you can win. Now he's shown that he can box a little bit as well. So he's starting to add tools to his arsenal, which I think will be a good thing for him going forward. You mentioned Bakole there. I do wonder what the hell is going on, not just with Bakole, with Akoli, with Hrgović, with Yoka, with Catterall. Like, I feel like we are now starting to finally see some chess moves. Now we are getting Dubois-Wardley, we're getting Chisora Wilder, Fury, Arsenbek Makhmudov. I feel like fights now will have to be made because there aren't that many players left in the game, if you like, in the top echelon of the heavyweight division. Yeah,
and the ones that are there, they're making hay while the sun is shining. I mean, I think it's crazy that you have the likes of Joe Joyce out of action for over a year, nearly a year, and nothing announced. You have Bakole, don't know what's going on with him. You've Lawrence Okoli had that Tete fight. He could go again next week. I was still waiting to hear what's happening there. We were hearing at one stage it was going to be Reactbor versus Fisher, or JBTKV versus Fisher. Don't know what's happening now. I saw Eddie on Darren's show say, they're a bit up in the air with everything. So, they need to get a move on, because these fights are not just going to be sticking around. You want to make a name for yourself in the heavyweight division, get out and get fighting. It's the best way to do it.
I 100% believe, and this is just my own thoughts on it, I don't have any inside information, everything obviously comes down to money. But there's no way these fighters aren't being offered fights. There's no way their management are not on the phone with them saying, okay, we've got you one. I honestly believe that it's like, no, I'm not taking that. I need more money. I think any fighter that's fought under Riyadh's season, I think their eyes have been turned as to what number they think they're worth, as opposed to what number they really are worth. And I just feel like fights are being turned down. Again, this is just me saying this because they're not getting the right offer they want.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree wholeheartedly with that. It might not even be the fact, it might be fighters who've heard of their gym partner or contemporary. They fought on a Riyadh season show, and I think, I'm a similar level to you. If you're getting that, I should be getting that, And they're just waiting around for those big paydays, which I think at this stage now you can't be doing. Because we're seeing more shows taking place in the UK, where before we might have seen, because Nick Ball was fighting in Riyadh for a lot of his fights, and he's fought, probably more in the UK the last 2 years than he has anywhere else. We're seeing more fights in the UK, up and down the UK. That's where you're going to have to be fighting. The Riyadh shows, the ring shows, whether in the US or Riyadh, they're going to be few and far between, I reckon, now. I reckon they're going to be reserved for the big shows. Well, how do you get on the big shows? You make a flipping name for yourself, and you make a name in the UK, in the US, fighting, taking good fights, having good performances. That's the best way to do it. And that's what a lot of these fighters aren't doing, unfortunately.
Yeah. On Bakole and Yoka, I think they're going to fight each other again. There's a lot of, I don't know if you follow both of these guys on social media, but they're goading each other hard. Obviously, whether you know this as well, but Tony Yoka's Congolese, obviously a French national, but his heritage is Congolese. Obviously, Martin Bakole's Congolese. So it's a big all Congolese fight again. And I think that's going to happen next. I think those two are going to meet again because ultimately they can't get the fights they want. I know the fights they do want, but they're behind a lot of people in the queue.
Well, the first fight was good. It was fairly one-sided. Now the scorecards will tell you otherwise. But that was a much younger, fresher, somewhat disciplined. I'm not going to say disciplined. I'm going to say somewhat disciplined Martin Bakole. Now, who knows? Might be a winnable fight for Tony Yoka because he was badly beaten first time around.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Some big news in the 154-pound division. It's strange, actually. I say big news. Neither of these are champions, which kind of shows that we are moving away from the belt era where having a belt doesn't mean it's a big fight. Boots versus Virgil looks like it could happen. Mike Coppinger was on Inside the Ring the other day, and he mentioned that this fight now looks like it could be a goer. I like it. I don't care how it's funded. I just want to see these two get in the ring and get it on. I love both. I love Virgil a lot. I think he gives you all action. Boots hasn't given me enough action in the last year or so. His last fight against Lima was a one-sided beatdown. I just think it's a really good matchup. And I mean, now Bakram lost. There's almost this place. I'm still trying to find out who the number one in that division is. I don't know if it's Sebastian Fundora who fights Keith Thurman. I think you could argue and say the winner of this is the number one in the division.
Yeah, and neither guy has a belt. That shows for a few things. One, it shows how highly these guys are perceived and how highly they were perceived at welterweight. When both guys can move up to 154 pounds, not really do. Okay, in Virgil's case, he has done a little bit. He's fought the likes of Boachuk, he's fought the likes of Madrimov. But with Boots, he's had one fight at the division and he's already perceived as one of, if not the best. So that kind of shows it. And bear in mind, right, this is not a division that has weak champions in it. It's not like you can move up from welterweight to 154 and you've got easy champions there that you could, you know who's going to win, right? These have good champions. They've got Fundora. They have Josh Kelly. Bakram is still useful. Man, this fight right here, it's going to be epic. And if you think about it, only a couple of weeks ago, we were doing this show. We were doing actually the same way as now over Zoom. And we were saying, it's not looking likely. It's likely that the winner of Bakram is going to fight Boots Ennis because Virgil has all his issues. Turkey, I reckon, has looked at this fight and thought, what, I want to see this fight. So never mind the issues. I'm going to make this fight happen. And that's why I think he's done or doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame that, it's not a shame, but obviously there's a lot of talk about Turkey doing this Mexico versus the world card. This would have been perfect for it, but that card, I'm guessing, is September, headlined by Canelo. There's a lot of talk about Brandon Figueroa being on that card as well. This would have been a perfect Mexico versus the world fight. Virgil obviously being from Mexico, but look, I'm a big fan of it. I love it. Obviously there is Xander Zayas floating around. He's a unified champion now. There has been a lot of talk about him versus Virgil because those Puerto Rican versus Mexican fights they're special in American boxing. But yeah, let's see what happens. I weirdly, it's not even weirdly, I favor Virgil. I don't know why. There's something about Virgil I really, really like. I don't know what it is, but I think Virgil couldn't beat Boots.
And I think he's fought a better, like at 154, he's more proven. I mean, Boots Ennis moved up in his last fight and, it was just a horrible mismatch. And I don't like, especially for someone who is of the level of Boots Ennis that I think is better than, he doesn't need to be fighting someone so easy in his first 154 pound fight, right? As I said, Virgil, I mean, he's just going from strength to strength to strength. I think he probably is the naturally bigger of the two as well. And honestly, it's the defensive Boots that I worry about. And Virgil, yeah, he's been dropped a couple of times, like against Boachuk, but there's just so much to like about Virgil. I just edge him slightly. And this is coming from a massive Boots Ennis fan, by the way, but I do agree. I just edge him ever so slightly.
Yeah, I go for the man that's done the work in the division. And Virgil, maybe wrongly or rightly, got the decision over Boychuk, beat Madrimov, and he flatlined Eriksson Lubin. So those are three guys in the top 10 of the 154-pound division that he's beaten back to back to back. As you said, Boots has only beaten Lima. And if I'm brutally honest, I didn't know who Lima was before that fight. So, which doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean he's a scrub, but I had no idea who he was in a division which is full of killers. So I favor Virgil as well. Another fight in the 154-pound division, looks like it will be announced for the summer. It's the return of Errol Spence. Looks like he's going to take on Tszyu. Errol Spence, we haven't seen in the ring for, by the time the fight rolls round, it'll be 3.5 years. Obviously, that fight against Terence Crawford, 2023. What do you make of that?
I would rather Errol Spence retire. That was a hell of a beating he took against Terence Crawford. Hell of a beating he took against him. And we've heard Errol Spence talk about coming back. We've heard, I think he was even meant to fight Fundora at one stage, or there was certainly rumours swelling around that fight was going to happen. And he's had to basically say, no, I'm not, I'm this, that, and the other. I don't think his body can get through a camp, personally. And I think that we saw signs of that even before he fought Terence Crawford. You cast your minds back to 2021 when Yordenis Ugas beat Manny Pacquiao. That was meant to be Errol Spence. He had to pull out of that fight because there was issues with his eye. I think he had retina issues or something like that. So Errol Spence's body hasn't been the same since that car crash, 7 years ago almost now. And me personally, I just think that beating against Crawford, 3 years out of the ring, no. I think Errol Spence had a career to be proud of, and he's definitely made enough money. I think his health is as well. I can't see him going in there and doing, even though Tszyu, he's taken some beatings, he's been stopped, he's lost now, 3 times, he's been stopped in 2 of them. I still think he's probably still the fresher. In fact, he's definitely still the fresher because he hasn't been through the trauma of a car crash.
Yeah, and he hasn't been through the trauma of fighting Terence Crawford. I don't want to see Errol Spence fight either. It's not necessarily because of the beating, because I've seen fighters have a beating like that and fight again and win and actually go on to have good careers. It's the length of time he's taken out the ring. He's obviously decided he's retiring. You don't take 3.5 years out of the ring and think you're going to continue. You've decided, I no longer want to do this. And obviously, as most fighters do, you get an itch, get a scratch, and like, okay, let's come back. I think people around him should say, there's no need to come back. You've made enough money. You're probably a Hall of Famer. There was a time when you ruled the 147-pound division. It's okay. I just don't like the idea of it. But look, fighters will fight. That's what they do. And if he feels like he's now, one thing he might say about the fact his body's taken a lot of trauma is that I've healed it. It's taken me 3 years, but you know what? I've done nothing. I've looked after my body for 3 years. I haven't seen any photos of him ballooning up, so he's still in shape. He might think, I'm okay now. I'm okay to go again. We saw Manny Pacquiao do that against Barrios. I know it's slightly different, but he somehow rewinded the clock as well. I don't know how he did it, but I don't know. He might use that as an argument, but I'm with you. I don't want to see him fight again.
Well, he might use it as an argument, but he was fighting once a year prior to the Crawford fight. So if you're fighting once a year, and that's one of the things we said about Crawford, how well preserved he was because he was fighting once a year. If you're fighting once a year and your body is still breaking down and you're still struggling, well, 3 years might help it, but I'd say it's unlikely. And again, Manny Pacquiao, a long career, knocked out a couple of times. He's had tough fights. He wasn't flung from a Ferrari at high speed, and I can't overlook that. I just can't.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll see. Again, nothing official. And with Errol, we've had these teases over the last 2 or 3 years, and then nothing happens. We've had so many teases about Errol's going to fight, Jamel Charlo, Errol's going to fight. As you said, Sebastian Findora, Errol even might fight Keith Thurman, and nothing. So I don't know. I take it with a pinch of salt. One fight that is happening in the 147-pound division, kind of strange. This fight, I get it. It kind of means nothing. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Is Jack Catterall versus Ramirez. Looks like they're going to fight in Fresno. Obviously, yeah. Jack Catterall is based out there now. Ramirez, I believe, is from that area. Ramirez has lost his last 2 fights to Arnold Barboza and to Devin Haney. Jack Catterall's coming off the good win against Eko Usman. It's a strange fight. If you do you get what I mean when I say that? It kind of has no root to anything.
it's just so random. You're talking about Jack Catterall, Jose Ramirez, in fact, you said Fresno, California, and you're just like, okay, that is a fight that I wouldn't have certainly matched them with, to be honest with you. Not that, I think it's bad for either guy. It's just so flipping random in a random location. I mean, Jack Catterall is not exactly a big ticket pusher in the UK. How is he going to be in America? And bear in mind, right, he's trained by Boise Ennis. Boise Ennis from Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. There to there. It's a long way away. It's not like you could even use the fact that, we've got Boots Ennis backing me, we're fighting in Philly or someone like that, where you could bring the Philly crowd. No, you're fighting in LA, or certainly you're fighting in California, the other side of the country. It's just random as hell.
Yeah. As for the ticket sort of thing, he does push a few tickets, G-Man. I think you've been harsh again. The G-Man, the harsh critic you are he does do good tickets. I've been at his fights. They're pretty much 90% full. Again, the arenas aren't big. Let me not pretend he's fighting in 20,000 seat arenas, but he does do 9 or 10,000 tickets, which isn't to be sniffed at. But yeah, this kind of makes little sense. Maybe it's just, I want to fight. I want to stay busy. He's been calling out Lewis Crocker. He's been calling out Devin Haney. He's been trying to get these guys. Maybe it's just a case of I want to fight. I don't want to sit on the fence. One thing I remember with Jack, after the Josh Taylor fight, I remember everyone was like, you just need to stay busy. Like, you're not fighting enough. So I guess we can't then be hypocritical and say, well, that fight means nothing. At least he's fighting. Others are sitting down doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. After he lost the Josh Taylor fight, it was over a year. It was well over a year before he fought again. And I think that probably didn't help him, actually, to be honest with you. And it didn't help his profile because he was just on everyone's lips after that. It was a robbery. It was a horrible robbery. He was on everyone's lips. By the time he came back, what was it, a year, 15 months later, everyone had forgotten about it. They were like, oh, he's the guy who Josh Taylor beat. Yeah, that was it. And he's kind of had to go and basically not change his whole style, but, go to America to base himself there to kind of just, get his name back there. And he is calling for these guys. I've seen his posts. He's mentioning Devin. He's mentioning Crooker. But just no one's saying anything. So he needs to kind of say, all right, look, as you like to say, have gloves, will travel. You want to do it in LA or you want to do it in California, let's do it there.
Yeah, exactly. Stay ready. Stay ready as well. Have gloves, will travel, stay in the gym, stay ready. There's a lot of welterweight fights, big ones. If someone gets injured, Jack will put his hand up straight away and say, I'm in. So I think it's smart what he's doing. All right, let's end the show by that's all the subjects, by the way, but let's end the show very quickly by talking about sort of British boxing and where we are. Obviously, we're kind of moving in to the second quarter. It will be, at least anyway, in April. And we've had some big fights announced. We just spoke about Wardley, obviously Chisora, and Wilder will kick off April. Right before that, we get Moses Talma, fingers crossed, in the ring. We get Tyson Fury. Like, we always will complain, but I say that, and that stadium, arena, like there's a lot of big fights happening over here. We've just had Nick Ball, we've just had Josh Kelly, we got Wood Warrington, which sold out immediately. It's not as bad as people like to say it is.
No, man, it is absolutely stacked. If you think about it, there's not 1 month where there's not a big fight or a fight that has significant relevancy. I still love, and I know some people said it to me last week, I can't believe you're looking forward to this. Well, I am. Josh Warrington, Lee Wood, love the fight. Love it. Can't wait for it. Moses Talma, Jermaine Franklin. I think maybe because it was meant to happen in January and now we're having to wait for it, it's kind of amped up anticipation for it. And bear in mind, I was hyped for it when I thought it was happening in January. Now I'm even more like, all right, let's go. Let's see how much did that injury affect the Talma. And then that's the start. I call that the silly season because we have that fight. Now we've Chisora Wilder the following week. We've got Fury the following week after that. And then 3 weeks later, we potentially have Daniel Dubois, FABIO Wardley. Like, honestly, all that in a short space of time, that's insane, man.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. And look, we've not even spoken about fights in America. I mean, there'll be some fights in America being announced as well. Obviously, I go out there for Garcia Barrios Garcia, which has got Richardson Hitchens on the undercard as well, defending his title against Oscar Duarte. So we are getting some good stuff over here. Frank seems, and also, bloody hell, we forgot about the Dublin card. Jazza Dickens versus Kakache.
Oh yeah, crap.
Which is in 4 weeks time.
That's a world title fight as well.
It's a world title fight as well. So busy. It's a busy period at the moment. I'm liking it. I think it's good. Look, I think what people mean when they have a dig at British boxing is maybe the small hall stuff. And maybe seeing a few more of those shows. I wonder how many people actually really watch those shows. I think people like to kind of just find something to moan at. But yeah, they need support. I almost feel like we're getting a lot of like top end Premier League Championship stuff. What about the League Two and League One, which kind of help push those Premier League and Championship? Because ultimately, those fighters start as League Two, League One, unless you're an Olympian, right? And you make your way to Premier League and Championship. So if you kind of cut off the League One and League Two shows, eventually you are going to struggle to get Premier League and Championship fighters, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And you touch on a good point there. You look at the likes of Izzy As If, who does those GBM shows, does them on his own as well. How many fighters that he still does work with have gone and signed contracts with Eddie Hearn? I know he has that Dutch fighter who walks the ring with his girlfriend, or walks the ring with his daughter, who signed with Ben Shalom. So he's actually bringing fighters along. He's staying part of their team, right? They might not be fighting on GBM shows, but they're going on to bigger and better things. He's still part of it. So he's bringing on maybe the lesser spotted talent. So they're getting out on these smaller shows. Some of them are in Nottingham, some are in the York Hall, but they're good. They're entertaining. They're fun to watch. And promoters are seeing them. Promoters are taking note and saying, oh, I like to look at that guy. Undefeated, looks good. I want to sign him. Perfect. That's what we need. More exposure.
Yeah, it's that funnel through. You're right. So you see them on these smaller shows, smaller crowds, but they entertain. They know what they're doing. They sell themselves, and then eventually they get kind of stolen. As it is. That's how it works. And Frank or Eddie will sign them up, and then they get their opportunity in the big show. So I think more support for those type of shows is needed, whether it be TV deals or fans just turning up. I've always said, and I said it on my YouTube video today, if any of these small hall show guys want a bit of a push, I mean, look, I haven't got 1 million followers, but I'm happy to kind of mention the small hall shows that are happening in Brentwood, York Hall, wherever, so people can get tickets, because sometimes you can go and watch good boxing in Brentwood for $5, and you're basically watching some of the future stars.
Oh, yeah.
Or even some names that have faded that are in 8-rounders because they're just waiting to get the call to go back to the big leagues.
And again, some of those 8-rounders, some of those small hall 4-rounders, and some of the journeymen who were on the journeyman scene, they come to fight. So I was watching back before Christmas top tier boxing who were on the zone. I remember one of their prospects, I can't remember his name, but he actually lost. But God, he was in an absolute humdinger of a fight. And you're just thinking, right, I'm telling you about that now. Probably the majority of fans had never even seen that fight. They don't even know that it happened, but it did. And it was there for everyone to see. And it's a shame, because there's just so much good stuff out there that people, I think, are just missing, and they don't probably realise there's a show on the York Hall this weekend. It costs you $5 to watch it. You'll see great boxing. Yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame. I might have to sort of speak to a few of these guys and see if we can get something working alongside them. All right, there you go. Quite a lot crammed into nearly 50 minutes. Thank you so much, as always, to Gman. Again, the link to his channel's in the description. We are going to collab on this video anyway. Thank you so much to you guys that have been watching this as well. We are trying to get back to the studio as soon as possible. For now, we are just trying to make sure that we put out a video every single week. I will be, as I said, in Vegas next week, but we are still going to film regardless. I'm going to take all the equipment over. So no excuses. We will get the content out to you. Peace.